Welcome to the Wellness Protocol, your source for guidance on metabolic health, hormones, and longevity. I'm Dr. Alessia Roehnelt, double board certified endocrinologist, and on each episode, I'll share simple tools rooted in science and experience to help you feel better, live longer, and take control of your health. Welcome back, everybody. On today's episode, we are going to be taking a deep dive into something you probably all have at home, and that is fragrance. Fragrance can hide in a lot of different things, from shampoos to laundry detergents, candles. Many products, even like body lotion, can contain these, and you're putting them right on your skin in some instances. So we're going to take a deep dive into what fragrance really is, how it can affect your hormones, what the science says about it, and finally, some practical swaps that you can make to protect yourself and your family. So let's dig in. Number one, what is fragrance? So when you look at a label and the product says fragrance or parfum, it looks simple. Legally, that one word can actually stand for over 3,000 different chemicals. And here's the thing. Companies, unfortunately, do not have to tell us what's inside. That's because fragrances are considered, quote, trade secrets. So what does that mean? It means that if you buy a body lotion or a candle and the ingredient list says fragrance, that could include things like phthalates, which are added to make the scent last longer, or parabens, which are preservatives, or synthetic musks, which are petroleum-derived compounds. You're not told which ones are in your product, and you really have no way of knowing. The Environmental Working Group looked at products on the market and found that 75% of products that listed fragrance contained ingredients linked to things like allergies, asthma, even hormone disruption. And when you see that one little word, you have to understand it really is a black box. You don't know what you're getting. So how do these fragrances affect our bodies? First, let's talk about phthalates. Phthalates are a group of chemicals that make scents stick to your skin or your clothes so that the perfume doesn't wear off in like an hour. The problem is, phthalates are what we call endocrine disruptors. They can mimic estrogen in the body and interfere with testosterone. There was a study published in Human Reproduction in 2010 that looked at phthalate exposure in men and found that higher urinary phthalate levels were associated with lower sperm counts and reduced sperm motility. That's fertility being directly impacted by these chemicals. Another large study in the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism in 2014 showed that boys with higher prenatal exposure to phthalates had lower testosterone levels during development. So this isn't just about reproduction, because testosterone also affects bone density, it affects muscle mass, it affects mood, and even energy levels. Next, let's move on to parabens. Parabens are another class of chemicals that are often hidden under the term fragrance. They're actually weak estrogens, which means that they can bind to estrogen receptors in the body. A 2004 study in the Journal of Applied Toxicology actually detected parabens in human breast tumor tissue. Now, that does not prove causation, but it is concerning to think that these chemicals actually accumulate in our tissues. And then there's thyroid. The thyroid is extremely sensitive to environmental chemicals. A study in 2012 in Environmental Health Perspectives found that higher exposure to certain phthalates was linked to altered thyroid hormone levels in adults. Remember, thyroid hormone regulates your metabolism. It plays into temperature regulation, energy levels, bowel habits. So even small shifts in thyroid hormone can make you feel tired and sluggish and can impact your weight. So we're talking about real hormonal consequences here. We're talking about fertility. We're talking about puberty in kids. We're talking about thyroid health and, of course, metabolism. And all of these are affected by chemicals that we are exposed to simply by spraying some perfume on or lighting a candle. Now, a lot of people often ask me, is this actually proven? Are we just overreacting to fragrance? I mean, I think that's a fair question. So let's talk about the evidence. We have both animal studies and human studies looking at this. The animal studies are really clear. When you expose animals to high levels of phthalates or parabens, you see changes in fertility, you see changes in puberty onset, and you see changes in hormone levels. So these studies give us a strong biological plausibility. In humans, the studies are often observational studies, which means they're looking at associations. They're not really looking at direct cause and effect. But the associations that they find are pretty consistent. For example, in 2018, there was a study in JAMA, which followed women with varying levels of phthalates and parabens in their urine. And the researchers found that the higher levels of parabens and phthalates were linked to irregular menstrual cycles and altered reproductive hormones. And another study in 2019 in environmental research found that girls with higher urinary paraben levels entered puberty earlier. You know, early puberty is not just a cosmetic issue. It's linked to higher lifetime risk of breast cancer and other hormone-sensitive conditions. And let's not forget about pregnancy. So many women nowadays are struggling with infertility. And a study in 2016 in the International Journal of Hygiene and Environmental Health showed that higher maternal exposure to phthalates was associated with shorter gestation and lower birth weights. So while none of these studies are perfect, these are not randomized controlled trials, which are really the gold standard of research these days. But the overall picture is consistent here. These chemicals are getting into our bodies, and they're doing things to our hormones that we don't want them to do. So let's talk about where fragrance hides and where these exposures are actually coming from. So here are a few examples of where fragrance can hide. Let's start with the bathroom. It could be in your shampoo, your conditioner, your deodorant, your body lotion, and even your tampons. Check all of the labels of those products in your house, and I can almost guarantee that at least one of them contains fragrance. And how about in your bedroom? Could be in any candles you have in there, definitely any plug-in air fresheners, or even laundry detergent. That's really common in laundry detergent. So every time you put on clothes that were washed with fragrance detergents or dryer sheets, you're carrying those chemicals around against your skin all day long. And what about in the kitchen? Take a look at your dish soap or your countertop sprays or even any kind of odor neutralizers that you have. Or for your kids, take a look at what's in their diapers, their baby wipes, honestly, even sometimes crayons and markers. And here's something tricky. Even products that are labeled as unscented can sometimes contain fragrance. The term unscented sometimes means a masking fragrance was added to cover up the natural smell of the product. So the only term you can really trust is the term fragrance-free. Now think about that for a second. Most women use 12 or more personal products every single day. That means dozens and dozens of exposures even before you leave the house in the morning, and you're carrying around many of them all throughout the day. So let's go through some really commonly asked questions because I know a lot of you are thinking about them right now. First one is, but I love my perfume. Do I really have to give it up? My answer is no, you don't have to give everything up. If perfume is that one thing that just gives you so much joy, then use it, but just sparingly. Maybe save it for special occasions instead of using it every day. And spray it on your clothes instead of directly on your skin so you're not absorbing it through your skin. The second question I get is, but aren't essential oils also fragrance? The answer is yes, but they're fundamentally different. So essential oils are plant-derived. Now, they can cause skin irritation in some people, but they do not contain phthalates or parabens, and they don't mimic hormones in any way. So for instance, I personally use laundry detergent that is scented with essential oils. And finally, are you just fear-mongering? Everything is toxic these days. You can't avoid it. I get that. It can absolutely feel overwhelming, especially when you continue to learn about things that might be toxic for your body. But this isn't just about perfection. It's about reducing your daily exposure. You don't need to eliminate everything. But if you can find places where you make small swaps here and there, if you're doing that day after day, that will add up. You want to just try to reduce your cumulative chemical load over time. So what do I want you to do with this information? Well, I don't recommend you go through your house and throw everything away. That's not realistic, it's not sustainable, and that's not cheap. But instead, maybe start with products that directly touch your skin or products that you use every day. For most people, that's going to be things like lotion, deodorant, or laundry detergent. Try to swap the fragrance lotion for a fragrance-free version or one that's scented with essential oils. Same for the deodorant. Try to get a cleaner brand that doesn't list fragrance. And for laundry detergents, just make sure to check those labels. There are plenty of good laundry detergents out there that don't use any kind of fragrance. And how about for candles? That's a big one. Everybody loves candles. I love them myself too. But I do try to reduce my exposure at home. So if you like candles, look for a beeswax or a soy candle version or something scented with essential oils, instead of paraffin candles that are scented with synthetic fragrance oils. For air fresheners, definitely skip those plugins. And instead, you can actually simmer some citrus peels and cinnamon sticks on the stove, which smells absolutely amazing. Or you can use an essential oil diffuser. Those really do a good job of getting beautiful scents throughout your home without being exposed to fragrance. And remember, you don't have to do all of this at once. Little swaps over time will add up. So let's recap. Fragrance is not one ingredient. It is a mixture of chemicals, many of which are endocrine disruptors like phthalates and parabens. While the science is still evolving, especially in human studies, the findings are pretty consistent that there is a link between these exposures and hormone disruption, including things like fertility problems, early puberty in kids, thyroid changes, and even effects on metabolism and weight. These chemicals are all over the place. You will be surprised at how many of your home products contain them when you didn't even think about it. So many products I looked at in my own home, I didn't even realize they had any kind of scent to them, but fragrance was listed on the back. The personal care products for sure, and even some of your kids' products. Now, the good news is we are at a time and place where there are a lot of alternative products offered. So making these simple, gradual swaps can help reduce your exposure over time and potentially protect your hormones. Thank you so much for joining me today on the Wellness Protocol. If this episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend or a family member or write a review. You can even add some comments or message me on Instagram at EndoHealthDoc. I'd really love to see what kind of swaps you are making, and I'd be happy to answer questions about what kind of swaps you could be making for a product you really love using, but kind of don't want to anymore because of the fragrance. And don't forget to subscribe so that you never miss an episode. Until next time, remember, your hormones are working hard for you. Protect them, and they will help protect you. Take care.